Greetings to you, and of course, I welcome you to this broadcast. I must say that this is an extremely special edition or moment for us here in Guyana, in that we're joined by someone who has got, in my view, every right to speak to this matter regarding Adriana. And Carlotta Taylor is, in my view, a very, very um, important piece to the puzzle of us understanding as Guyanese, and those of you in the other parts of the world who have an interest in the Adriana Young situation. In my view, she serves a very important role, or would serve one, in helping us to understand from law enforcement, from an investigator's perspective, what should have been done, what should be done, and probably what can still be done in reference to us ensuring that the family of Adriana Young has justice. It is very, very important to us as Guyanese to understand professionalism, ethics, and what is actually required of law enforcement officers and investigators. What brings me even greater joy in having Carlotta here with me, a former detective, is that she would have dealt with children and crimes that would involve children. Also, she would have had, and she'll speak to her about this herself, a background in homicide investigations. I just wanted to see, and I'm sharing some images with you. I'm sharing images here for you to see that we have someone who is quite versed in quite a few areas, also an author. And that speaks volumes to what we have to deal with, who we're dealing with, the quality of individual we have, because it's as I would have promised you, and I've made a commitment that it doesn't matter what it takes. There will be justice served for Adriana Young, an 11-year-old girl who on the 23rd of April just went missing from the Doubleday Hotel pool. And the next day, miraculously, they were searching for her. And we have videos which I will play for this former detective, Carlotta, so that she can be able to tell us how, as a detective, speaking to us as what we call civilians, how can we make sense of what law enforcement, the administration, the government of Guyana, and others, we'll even speak to her about what the three forensic pathologists have said to the administrators of this country. So there'll be a very, very long evening, hopefully, in reference to the number of questions that I have to ask and how much I would want to have um, word, the thoughts, the ideas, the wisdom, the experience of Carlotta, helping us to understand and to make sense of this situation. So before we proceed, can you hear me clearly? And are you also seeing me clearly on both YouTube and on Facebook? We are on two platforms tonight. If you have questions to ask, I hope that I'll be able to capture them as I glance at my monitor. So we want to have as much as Ms. Taylor's experience presented to us. Okay. While you're at that, I would not mind if you can share this broadcast so that others can have an opportunity to experience firsthand what we are going to hear tonight in this interview. I'm so grateful for social media and for technology in that I didn't have to buy a plane ticket. Um, Carlotta didn't have to have a plane ticket to get to Guyana. We can sit in our homes or wherever we are and have this conversation. So it's not like the days of old. At this time, I will present to you our guest. There she is, Miss Carlotta. I don't know if it's Miss or Mrs. Forgive me. Um, Carlotta.
That's
Okay,
fine.
so welcome. Welcome to Guyana in South America. Guyana, not Ghana.
Right.
Guyana in South America. Um, please share with us as you join us here. Um, a little bit about your experience. Tell us about who Carla Taylor is. I know there's a whole lot for you to unpack. I tried my best, but we
I believe your words kind of cut off right at the end.
somebody's trying to, yes. Tell us a bit about yourself. We'd be happy to hear about who you are and to hear of your experience and your expertise in this regard.
Okay. Well, first, I want to say thank you for allowing me to be on your platform, Nigel. And I want to say a special shout out to my friend and business partner who is U.S. based, Guyanese. All right. Thank you for
Great.
seeing fit in me and my experience and my walk in life to come and speak on this matter. I know it's a very delicate and touchy subject. And my heart goes out to the Guyanese. We are all family, no matter if we are all a part of the country, no matter where we are in the world. Just as Nigel just said, we can all come together from the comfort of our homes and still speak on a
Yes.
very important matter. So I just want to give out a disclaimer. I do not speak perfectly. I want to get this information out. I've been reviewing this information late at night, taking pages of notes that I want to cover, and some things from my former experience as a
Okay.
detective in different bureaus, right? And I just want to shed some light on some things and hopefully provide something that will move this case forward. And just a little bit about me, Niger, and to the people watching. I am from Mississippi. That's a state in the United States, and I'm currently residing in Illinois. Okay,
Okay.
my background comes from an array of things: prior military, former law enforcement. I have patrol experience, child protection slash sex crime experience as a detective, investigated cases where crimes were committed against children, including sex crimes. Okay. I have
Okay.
experience as a robbery homicide detective where I work murder cases, capital murders, and things like that in the state of Mississippi, as well as a background detective. So that means I know how to start at the origin, and sometimes you got to backtrack. When you think you should be looking forward in a case, sometimes you got to go back and you'll get more answers.
That's good. That's so good. And I'm happy that you said that. There are times when in a case to go forward, you have to go backwards to get some answers. And I want us to go backward to where hopefully I can give you some understanding as I'm happy you would have been doing some review on the matter because this matter has gained international traction. It's gone global, viral, and all the other terms. Because an 11-year-old girl, an 11-year-old beautiful Guyanese girl, went to have a day of fun with her family and here she is. This beautiful girl. That's her photograph. She was taken for graduation. She wouldn't graduate, unfortunately. So I hope they do that posthumously to have her graduate and um, just in honor of this child and what she's caused across the world. Um, so Adriana went swimming with her family, and in the evening, um, certain things began to capture her attention. Now, this photograph here you see on the screen. Encircled in the pool is Adriana. That's in the shallow section, in the 4 foot section of the pool. And that's about 1:20, 1:29 or so in the afternoon. She was there. So we can see she was there. And later on, a few moments after that, this child just vanished. She went out of the pool because you can see she's in the shallow section and she left this pool. Then someone began to ask if anybody saw Adriana because she was missing. The grandmother of the young lady said that she would have raised an alarm and they began to look around. She couldn't be found and they began to search this pool. Now, let me see if I can show you an image of the pool. I think there you have it. This is an image of the pool at night, just for context. She was swimming in the day. This is an image of the said pool at night. Now, you're the detective. I'm not, but she was swimming in this pool during the day and she just went missing. Now, as a detective who deals with cases regarding children, what should have been the first step that would have been taken when this child had gone missing and they weren't finding her?
Well, initially, when it comes to a child and child missing categories, I believe that the police were notified while people were still present at the hotel. See, there's a difference when you say my child has ran away or my child is missing and they're out there somewhere and I don't know
Okay.
where they are. There's a difference. But there's an entire difference when you say my child is missing somewhere in this building. So at
Okay.
that point, in that point, right then, should have been measures taken to start a search and to start looking into this missing child. When I first looked, and you first showed me the picture of Adrianna in the pool, it appears that to me, from where I'm looking, it appears that she's wearing a swimming suit. If am I correct with that?
She's wearing a t-shirt, because I'll
Okay.
show you the image of her when she got found, just for context again. This is what she was dressed in.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. So I would have immediately law enforcement and persons on staff and everyone. There should have been a search and of the premises initially, just for starts.
So they should have searched the entire premises. Now this is a hotel.
Absolutely.
So this is a
And
hotel where she's missing. So there'd be
right.
guests at the hotel. So how do we deal with that?
Say what now? There's guests in the
They,
hotel.
they would,
Well,
right,
there
if they guests and so on.
right. So there were people who were on scene. More questions should have been asked. Documentation, seeing who may have seen her, starting to gather some type of witnesses. Because at this time, when a child goes missing, those first 24 to 48 hours are really high key times. So
Okay.
there could have been some time to prevent anything that was going wrong. When I first saw that, I would put myself in the shoes of that family or in the shoes of that
Mhm.
community who wants to see this child found safe. I would have first, not even being there, not even knowing what it sounds like, I would have looked for any type of signs. Sometimes the noisiest sounds would really be a cover up, could be muting sounds, muting things that if the if the baby would have screamed, how would you have heard it? So I would have started looking
Ah,
for music. I would have started looking for loud noises, and I would have been going in that direction.
that's good. Because I found it, and we here in Ghana are finding it difficult to comprehend that this child was in an area people were. It's in a busy day. About 20 family members were there, they said, and others were having fun. There was a swimming classes. Someone said to some extent, somebody was teaching someone to swim and so on, people to swim. So it was pretty active. And then at 1:30 in the afternoon, this child or so, just around that time, she disappears. And what bothered us is that, or what is bothering us is that, okay, so you cannot find this girl. You cannot find Adriana. They couldn't find her. They're saying, where is she? The grandmother said that the owner of the hotel told her or told them, well, they should search the pool. So that's the next step we are at now. This owner has this pool, this here, and he tells them, listen, search the pool. That's during the day. This is taken at night now. But he said, search the pool. She'll be somewhere in there. Now, the grandmother said that they began to search this pool because they were directed to the pool by the owner of the hotel. He said, search the pool. And when they began to search this pool, Adriana was not there. The grandmother's report is that because the grandmother was the adult who would have taken her, she had been responsible for the girl. She said that when they searched the pool, quite a few times, they combed the entire pool. Now, last she was seen was in the shallow part of the pool. A little bit of information is that she could also swim. Her father would take her to the river to swim, not the pool only. The largest rivers in the Caribbean, the Essequibo, so she could swim. She was last seen in the shallow section where she could stand. The owner of the hotel said, search the pool. Just nonchalantly, search the pool. They did that. She wasn't found. They searched it again. She wasn't found. And a report was made to the police that that Adriana could not be found. She's lost. She's missing. They can't find her. They're searching and they can't find her. So now we are at the stage whereby the owner of this facility It has told the family to search the pool. They did that. She was not found. That's on the 23rd of April. What is your take on that? The first encounter with the owner, who's just telling them, search the pool. They haven't found her, and that's where that's it. He's done with that. He didn't say to drain the pool or anything like that.
All right,
Nothing, just
so
search it.
absolutely. So sometimes, let me tell you what I learned when I was a former homicide detective. I had received some really great training. I received some FBI training with interview and interrogation. And one thing that I learned in that training that was way back in 2008, I learned that, and this is what you have to pay attention to. Even though when a person is telling something or they're answering questions and there is suspect activity, they don't want to tell the truth, but your body wants to get the truth out naturally. He couldn't help himself by saying, search the pool. That's like giving it away the answer. I know the answer, but he's trying to hide it, but he couldn't help
Hmm.
it because you got to ask yourself this: why would he initially say, search the pool, and she was later found at the pool?
Ah, that's it. We're
So
going
that
somewhere with this.
it's like he froze up. It had to come out because listen, the truth is gonna find a way. Just like water flows down a stream, it doesn't matter what you try to do to block it and stop it, it's gonna come out some kind of way. And it had to come out. And it's no coincidence that the truth came out when he said search the pool. Now my next
Wow.
question would be, how was the pool searched and who can testify? Anybody witness, and I'm saying who could give a testament of searching the pool and how was the pool searched? Because that's very critical evidence as well.
It is. Thank you so much. And every so often I'm grateful when I can have professionals or those with the experience, um, to speak to us to say, well, you're not all crazy people because you were saying, why would this individual direct the family to the pool immediately? Search the pool because she got out of the pool to go for something. She was not in the pool. We saw videos there was an alarm and they said, has anybody seen Adriana? She wasn't there. So they began to search. When they encountered him, he said, search the pool. And you said, it is so pointed what you just said. Why would the first thought in his mind be, hey, let me direct him to the pool? As an investigator, you're saying that you would have those questions in your mind and you begin to say, well, let's work around why he told us about this pool in the first
Absolutely.
place. That's so good. And then they were searching it. So we have confessions from the grandmother, and we're going into the afternoon, the evening hours and night. This would be about 8, 9 hours after she's missing, where they're saying they searched the pool many times over. Now I want to show you an image that I consider to be one of the most disturbing that I've seen in a very long time, apart from the girl Adriana being um, dead. These are, permit me to put my camera in solo. You can still see. These are Carlotta, these are law enforcement officers standing at night in front of the hotel's door. Because at this time, it's dark, it's after 10, the family, they're not finding Adriana. And they've become very upset because the father was there. He's saying that he knows his child isn't there. Now, you are an investigator, you're in law enforcement, you dealt with child, uh, crimes against child and so on. We have got three, and there were many more, and I'll show you in a minute. The third highest ranking official in reference to law enforcement. He was there, an assistant commissioner of police, and they stood watch in front of this building, preventing persons from going because at this time people began to become very upset, rightfully so in my view, because they couldn't find the girl. They weren't finding Adriana. And law enforcement officers were standing there to say nobody. They're preventing the parents and so on. And then it's okay, then one, you can come and they were being very selective. What would be your view as an investigator? It's sometimes difficult for cops or police to speak against each other, but I just want you to be honest with us. Like you've been that way. How should I feel as a father if the people who I'm expecting to help me to find my child are standing there to prevent me from going in to look for my child.
Well, one that's quite alarming. And it appears to me, just this is my personal opinion, but my professional opinion stands the same way. It seems like they're standing for the wrong side of the tracks. See, there's a thing, there's a word that I hold very dear to my heart when it came to law enforcement. And I learned this when I was a military girl back in 1998. There's a word that sticks out to me, and that word is integrity.
Yeah.
Integrity. And it appears to me that these three officers who were standing guard to prevent persons from coming in to simply search and look for a missing child, it seems like they should have been geared up to search the premises to ensure that this child was not there and nothing had happened to her, because we have a location where she could be last known, last seen.
Right.
So they're it seems like from what I'm looking at, they're on the wrong side of the tracks, standing guard
Oh boy.
for the wrong reason.
Yes.
That would be
And
what's
it,
coming to my mind.
okay. And it gets worse because early in the afternoon, now I know that the US and your state structures are different in terms of the hierarchy in law enforcement. So we have in Guyana, because our population isn't that large, about 800,000 people. We've got one person who's called the commissioner of police. So he's at the highest level. I'll just show this chart here quickly so we can have a working idea of what I'm talking about. We've got the organizational chart here in terms of ranks. We've got uh, the bottom right would be the commissioner of police. Then you have a deputy commissioner, a few of them, and then there's the assistant commissioner. So someone who's serving as an assistant commissioner is the third highest ranking official in the Guyana police force. And at his level, an assistant commissioner of police, he was there. And I want you to hear what he said to the family, then I'll explain to you. Or you can tell me if you saw this footage before. But he's speaking to Adrianna's mother. They couldn't find her in the afternoon. They're now getting 23rd again. They're becoming very upset before that photo where the police at the door was taken.
Show us the video. Show us the video right there. Let's see the video. Show us the video right there. Show us the video right there. Show the video right there. Show the video right there.
So, first of all, tell me if you understood what they said, because of course there was a lot of chatter. But we're focusing on the guy in the khaki clothing. He's an assistant commissioner of police. If he's promoted to be a deputy commissioner, then next he's a commissioner. That's how high he is up the ladder. And he was there saying to the family, to the mother of the child, he had his phone. He said, "We got some footage. We have some footage. Footage of what? Because remember, they couldn't find her. They're saying she's missing. They made a report to the police now. The police came and they said, the grandmother said, well, there's a camera across the way. Because the hotel owner said the cameras were not working. No cameras working in this facility. None. So there's a neighbor who had a camera. So the grandmother said, well, can we search there? They had to wait for about 3 or 4 hours before the neighbor got in from work and said, okay, then they searched. So this man said that they have footage. That's the police talking to the mother and the family. He has footage of Adrianna leaving the premises to go into a Toyota car with a man. So in my view, as a civilian, I'm hearing a spin here. Okay, then you're trying to distract me some way. You're already telling me that there's a stereotype. There's a little girl, she's missing, so she went with some man. That's what we're getting. There's a social media outlet called Guyana Daily News. They went as far as publishing a license plate number of a car. Now, Guyana Daily News is connected to the government in terms of how they function because they normally attack those who are against the government, and they're quite pro government. And in this case, they said the girl left in the vehicle, license plate number, and this assistant commissioner told the mother that he has footage of it. Come, let me show you the footage. So the guys were there saying, no, 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 show us right here. Don't take us away to show us here, because you want them to remove from the scene. And they said, no, we're not leaving. Show us it right here. We want to see the video now. Show us it if you have it. And what are your views on that? We have got the highest ranking police official in that region on the scene now. And again, he's trying to distract the family and pull them away, saying he has video footage of Adriana leaving the premises. And then I'll tell you what happened next.
Okay. So the very first thing I would want to know as a detective, and just zoning in from my prior experience, is who is responsible for putting that information? Who gave the okay that it's okay to say this is what we have, and that there is footage, she left, who were all involved in that conversation, and who authorized that to be put out like that? Now, I don't know if that was the isolated, if he just did that on his own, or if there were people who came together and had a conversation about it. So that's the first thing I would start, the origin of that. Secondly, this looks like an obvious distraction, like a squirrel over there to move the audience or the crowd or the people who were standing firm and looking for this child. And everything's happening. It seems like in that video there was a lot of trauma stirring up and there was a lot of emotion stirring up. So it's like when you're panicking and you're trying to figure out how to get something done, you got to come up with something to derail things. And it seemed like that was just a derailment strategy.
Great. So what has happened, and just in reference to whether there would have been a chain of information being shared. And then finally he said to the family, well, I have footage here. We in Ghana, we have what's called a command center. I think you may have something similar. Where if there's a situation that's occurring, there's a command center. Once people begin to protest and so on, they have an activation of a command center. And information is shared. They have satellite radios and so on. They'll speak to each other, telephones, and they'll say, well, this is happening and this is what we have. And so he's that he got sorry, someone's recently received footage of this from some one of this maybe somebody connected to them or the command center and saying, come, let me show you, let me take you over here and I'll show you. Let's go further to that. This man actually told the mother of the child, Carlotta, that she should go home and rest. She should go home and sleep. When Adriana is she's not been found. He said, listen, go home and sleep. It's okay. How should we deal with that? What would be our thought process as parents?
Okay, he tells the mother he has received footage. You should go home. It's okay. Was there ever a point where he actually produced the footage to the mom or anyone in that family?
Thank you for asking that question. The footage was, they saw the footage, but they were running the camera at the neighbor's house. And the mother told them, this is not my child. This is not the person. This is not my daughter. So
So
go ahead.
I don't mean to cut you off, but that's a little backwards, right? So in law enforcement, what you do is you go to the family first and say, is this your child? Before we put this out, before we say that we have actual evidence that this is what happened and this is what occurred, they would get someone in that family, the closest of kin, to identify that this is that child. And so that was done completely backwards. I'm not sure how that's set up over there with that local department, but that is not proper procedure at all. And
Oh boy.
and one last thing, if he's saying he received footage, then there needs to be some type of responsibility that's shared with the public regarding how that occurred, why that occurred, and there needs to be answers for that.
And I'm happy you said it because I'm of the view that, and we're of the view that if he says that he has footage, And before that, the mother was saying that this is not my daughter. That should be the end of it there because she should know who her daughter is. Now, would it have been good for them to turn he's the head of all the policemen in that area. He's in charge. Should he not have turned his attention back to the hotel? If the mother said, this is not my daughter, she never left because there's no footage of her leaving. Should they have turned
Immediately.
their attention back to the hotel on the 23rd of
Immediately.
April?
Immediately, the attention should have been turned back to the hotel, and immediately, because the information that was put out was not on, so that means somebody's not doing their job right, and there needs to be somebody appointed that's going to take everything in the right direction, because we can't start off with the wrong origin, and we already see this is going down the wrong path. This is not going to get us the results that we are needing, and the results were to locate that baby that night. So we already
Right.
have somebody, no matter the rank, no matter the title, no matter giving false information, we do not continue to fall in line with that type of information. Now, somebody with integrity step up and let's get this going in the right direction. Like you said, go back to the hotel and find out what's
Go
going
back.
on.
And I'm not doing your job, but I just wanted to pick as much as your brain as you're saying and to pull out, extract from you as much as I can. Remember earlier the owner said, search the pool. We focus on the owner now. He said, search the pool. Now we search the pool. She's not there. Then they say, oh, we have footage of her leaving with some guy in a car. Well, she's not in the car. Should we also not at this time as law enforcement officers say to the owner, come here, come. You and those who on staff, you come here. Sit over here or whatever it is, you're not moving. Because you told us to search the pool. We're now hearing that she left in a car. So we're coming back to you again. She's not in the pool. So let's talk. Don't move. Do not use your phone. Is that the kind of stuff you'll be doing?
Absolutely, because at the end of the day, that should, that's not the time to shuffle the deck. That's the time to get a new deck.
Ah,
It's not the time to shuffle the deck, because obviously, in my the way this is rolling out, it took a community, just like it's taken a community to stand together for the voice and to keep her name alive until this is resolved. It took a
yes.
community to do just the opposite. It took a network of
Wow.
people to do the wrong thing.
Oh my
Absolutely.
goodness. Thank you so much. Thank you. And viewers, they're, it's hot over here. I don't know if you've seen the comments, but they're just, well, okay. In Guyana and wherever they are in the world, they're saying, well, they appreciate what's happening. They appreciate your honesty and your candidness. And so we keep it down that line. You're not offending anybody apart from those who don't want to hear the truth. So thank you for that. Um, the media outlet, this news people, they call themselves Guyana Daily News, said there's a license plate number. The girl left in the car with this license plate. Now, let me confess, I have a peculiar love for children. When you trouble children, I become irate. I become very, very upset. I believe that my life must be left to defend and protect, especially girl children. The week before that, there was a case where an older man, 51 years old, was sexually molested a little girl, assaulted a little girl in my community. And I went into the jungle to find him among with other people because I wasn't playing with that. He had to be found because he was armed and so on. And I said, no, this is going to happen like that. So please understand the trigger for me here. And a few days later, an 11-year-old girl is now deemed missing and she's in this car with the license plate number, whatever else it is. So I'm paying attention at this time. Then we're told that the driver of the car's name is Orlando. So I went on the broadcast, said, we have to find Orlando. Because if they say Orlando has this girl and the police have said that she left in the car, the police issued a statement, by the way, a release that she left in the car, license plate, whatever it was, and she's with this person named Orlando. I said, no, we have to find this guy. So I was prepared to go hunting for another person because I know that with all the hours that would have elapsed, something bad could have happened. It so turned out the father and son, they went, the police said, the guy said he was never even in the area and his name is not even Orlando. So the father followed the trail, went somewhere else, and then found out that this person does not even exist by the name Orlando. And the man said he was never there. They claimed the guy said he rented a car to someone, and none of that happened. So all of this car situation, Carlotta, turned out to be an absolute lie, as I would call it in layman's terms. What do we do next? This chief, this head of police sent us somewhere. It didn't turn out. The father went to check, didn't pan out. We're back to the hotel now. What do we do?
Okay, so we have deceit happening. We have being misguided happening. This is where I would start creating a list from everybody involved who's pointing in the wrong directions, who has, like, there's some type of motive going on and happening right now. And there's
Hmm.
a list that should be made of why this is happening. Documentation, documenting names, documenting everybody who's on the premises.
Okay.
Next steps, following the trail. You said the father was the one who followed the trail that police shared. And it should have
Yeah.
been the police following their own trail and verifying the information before it got out.
Well,
So
they actually stopped the guy. Sorry about that. They stopped the car because remember there's a license plate number. So they stopped the guy and they actually held him and found out his name is not Orlando. And the fellow said I was never there. He's filed a lawsuit against the police and rightfully so because he's saying he was interrogated and they found out he was not even there. And this man could have lost his life
that is
because
very
the police told us that he had the girl went with him.
right. So that is very um, substantial to come up with a whole plot that needs to be documented and further investigated. It needs to be like we talked about the backward steps in the beginning. It
Yeah.
needs to be backstep into the origin of where that actually came from. And all the persons involved, they need to be looked at into questioning. And I do have some thoughts about that later on when we get to, like, throughout the case, about
Okay.
creating a list of names and all parties involved. We'll get to that.
Okay. Great. So we back to the hotel. The father went back. He said, no, listen, I'm not moving from here anymore because he was saying actually, listen, my child is in there. He kept saying that. He said, my daughter is in there. I know it. And she's not in any car with anybody. She is in there. And now we have a case where they searched the pool multiple times. The police are now on the scene. There's absolutely not even one statement made, Carlotta, by the police officers to say that they searched that pool or they supervised the searching of the pool. Not even one word. Nothing. This little pool, 20 feet by 20 feet. They've never said that they instructed the owner that this is your pool. You said that we should search this pool. Come here. You call the lifeguard. So here's another part for it now in reference to child protection and acts against children that are criminal. Up until this day, there's not been one mention of a lifeguard, not even one word of a lifeguard. With children swimming in that pool, a young lady who they claim to have drowned in the pool, nobody, including the police, has said the owner has been held and charged for at least criminal negligence. What is supposed to happen if children are using a pool and one side of it is 8 feet deep? Should they be a lifeguard? It's a dumb question, but please answer it for me.
Well, absolutely, there should be a lifeguard, and we're not even tapping into previous things that may have happened at that said hotel. So, due to those previous cases, definitely now when you have children, there should definitely be lifeguards. Just like you should have security, you should have lifeguards, just like you have staff. So, yes, that's definitely should have been in place. And when you talked about the father leaving, so we have to also take an account of who was still there at the premises. Like, do we know the community of people by name? Who was still there? Where were the eyes and ears at? What was visible? What did people see? Who was moving around? Were they surrounding the hotel? These are questions I would have. Were they
Okay.
surrounding every part, or were they just in a secluded area? All of those things come into play when we're talking
Okay.
about over the night into the next day.
Okay. Great. So the relatives were there. The community, spirit-minded people were there. They were still searching, trying their best to get to the girl and interacting with the police officers who, at this time, the crowd swelled. And there was a confrontation, a standoff, where the officers were now saying that you're not getting in here. They, mind you, the father said that there were still activities going on in the hotel. People are still drinking and as normal as ever. With a missing child, they were just as normal as ever. Another piece of the puzzle is where I saw a video and where the people were telling the staff, some of the staff members in there, that the girl is missing, and they were laughing. Now, with a ruckus going on outside, they were actually laughing. What would be your view of that, and what is that in any way suspicious?
Well, at this point, when it comes to a case like this, you it's like you want to collect all the data. You don't want to you want to clear everything, every thought, every person, everybody who is there. So we don't want to just make a suspicious case, but everybody is a suspect. Everybody on scene. And you should be okay with that. If you had nothing to do with it, you should be all good. If you had nothing to do with it, check me, baby, check me. If you had nothing to do with it, you're not going to fight or resist it, right?
Mm.
So everybody, we got to clear every corner, every inch. And that's the way you go about that.
Are we supposed to have a list of the names of all the people who worked at the hotel that day as well?
Every
From the
person
time she
that
was
was
missing?
there, every person that was in the vicinity, and I know it was a lot of people that was gathering, but you would want to
Yeah.
have everybody names, everything that you can get is very important. Because when it comes to a scene as horrific as this baby scene was, the person responsible has a tendency of either sticking around the scene or always coming back to the scene. That's one of the main
Oh,
reasons. Absolutely. You always want to document who was on the scene.
hmm. Interesting. Wow. Thank you. And so they kept searching for the girl. Um, and at one point, someone who is not related to the family, not a police officer, not a law enforcement officer, because they were not allowing anybody to enter after a while. He showed up, and he is associated with the government, again, very closely associated with them. Um, and he said to us that he called someone who knows someone who knows someone, and they allowed him to go into the area. That's at 10:30 at night on the 23rd. She went missing at 1:30 or so. That's at 10:30 p.m. He says that they allowed him to go. And so he went in there to do some footage. Now, before he did the footage, he interviewed the grandmother outside, and he said, "Well, um, did anybody search the pool?" The grandmother insisted that they searched the pool multiple times. And I show you the pool. You see the size of the pool when I show this video footage here. How small it is. So it's not an Olympic sized pool. It's not a theme park kind of environment. And the grandmother told him, yes, we searched the pool multiple times and she's not in the pool. He showed up there. The father couldn't go in. The mother couldn't enter at one point. They were not allowing anybody, but he said that he knows somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody, and they let him in. And now I'll play that video for you where you see what he would have said.
Management. I said, we're going out with the cameras. There's a female washroom here. There's a bar here. The management explained to me that when you come and if you're going to use the pool, and as you can see, you see the pool here clear. Like when the family said they went in the pool and check, everybody went in the pool and check. Normally, you ain't got to check if there's a body in this pool. You could see it because the pool is clear. Right? So, obviously the young lady, the 11-year-old who has gone missing from this place is not in this pool. Right? So I walking around, I look in, I talk to management before I talk to the mother and the father to make sure I have an inclusive story. Everybody knows what's going on, why it's going on and so on. Right? So you got the pool here.
He's speaking a lot like Guyanese Creoles, but I hope they can understand what he said. You will see in the pool, there's the person who said that he has exclusive footage to give because he was in there at 10:30 at night. I don't want to preempt. I don't want to guide your thoughts. Tell me what your thoughts. Tell us what your thoughts are on what you just observed. That's the pool, by the way. This is not a theme park with a 100-meter long
Right.
pool and all that. A little
Right.
pool.
Well, just based off of what I just saw and the knowledge that I have thus far, I would actually, this is just me now. I would definitely, like I said, nobody goes. Every stone needs to be overturned. I would
Okay.
add him to my list of suspects potentially or having some type of information. And the reason why I say that is because it seems like instead of showing the pool and going into the pool and showing that you were actually searching the pool, you're you are trying to persuade a narrative, right? You're
Mm,
trying to make it appear to be that this pool is clear. When I'm looking at the pool and it doesn't appear to be so clear from where I'm sitting at.
mm.
I'm not there. I haven't been on the scene. I
Right.
haven't seen it. But that video, the words he's using, it appears to me that it's trying to persuade. So I would definitely
Right.
have some more questions for him. Absolutely.
So,
And
right. And, uh
yeah,
sorry. So, but from what we'd have seen, and I did some simulations where I walked the pool at night. That's well lit. I would walk the pool where it was pretty dark and showed people because the water is clear as blue. It's, and you could see it at the bottom of the pool. So he was saying, and the reflections of the light and so on would have been, um, from the angle of the camera may have thrown your eyes off. Of course, I'm showing secondhand footage here, but I took note of what he was saying. He said that the pool is clear. It's obvious the pool is clear. Could it be the narrative now to say, well, the girl is not there, so we all leave, go home. She's not here. Could
that
that be one of the angles they were taking to take?
it could definitely be an angle. Like I said, whatever he's doing, and this is what one thing I do know without even being there, without having my hands in the case and reading police reports or being there, is that he is trying to persuade a narrative. And
Of
that
some
is an
sort.
absolute fact. He's trying to persuade something. And
Okay.
diversion is definitely in that
Right.
play.
Because if you look at this one here, that's why I showed this early in the broadcast. If you look at this image, look at the pool. That's a still photo.
Yes.
So you can see the bottom of the pool here from over
That's a
50
clear
feet in
pool.
the air. There you
Absolutely.
go. That's the same pool. So if he's walking with the camera in his hand and you're an investigator, can you see the bottom of that pool? This is the same pool we're looking at
Yes,
based on
this
what
is
you're
the
seeing on the screen.
absolutely.
Okay. So if this, just work with me here. Let me show you this other image here. If this 5 feet 5 inch, she's taller than her teacher, by the way, it seems. She's taller than the teacher at 11 years old. She's a tall girl. Is it possible in your view as an investigator that this child with this height, this size here can be lost if she's in this pool alone? Nobody else is there. Now the pool is empty. Nobody's there, according to what he said. With her size and her body structure, and this pool I'm showing you on the screen, are you are you convinced as an investigator that this child could be here and nobody would see her?
No, I'm not convinced that she would be in that pool. I'm not convinced that she would be in that pool and you would not be able to see her. I'm also not convinced that if she went missing from the pool, then her reappearance in the pool doesn't make any sense.
Oh wow. Now
Did she
that's
decide
something
to go
else.
for another swim? See, it's not making sense. It's not adding up.
Can you say that for me again, please? Because that's something right there.
Did she go missing
Wow.
from the pool and decided, oh, I'm going to take another swim at night? It doesn't
Oh
make
my
sense. It
God.
doesn't add up. It doesn't connect. Like I said, the truth needs no help. The truth is going to flow like water flows down the stream. The moment we have parties or individuals or anybody saying, hold up, stop, we got to let the water go this way, that means something is trying to stop the flow of the truth. So we don't get to say she went missing, she just exited the pool, or she went whatever, did whatever. She is no longer in the pool. There are people in the pool. Where is Adrianna Younge? Where is she at? She's not in the pool. We've already made that conclusion. Now, where is she? She's got to still be here because she hasn't left. So, no, we don't get to
Wow.
say she came back in the pool for another swim.
Because when I showed you first, that's why I showed you where she was. That's a shallow section of the pool. She's standing half her body or so is out, 2/3 or 1/3. So she's in the shallow part. That's the last time they saw her. Not in the deep part, in the shallow part. And we get to where they found her, the way they said she was always present. She was here. She vanished. Nobody could find her. They were searching right after this. They couldn't find her. Then this guy comes along and say, well, the pool is clear because as I said, in my view, he knows that she's not there. And someone wanted him to convince everyone outside and online because it was a viral moment here. But listen, y'all just relax. We have to find the girl somewhere else. So stories started popping up. She's up with some man somewhere. She's in a bus somewhere. She's somewhere over here. And we have footage of her. Go home. The guy, go home. Tell the mother. He told the mother go home. The guy said go home. The police officer, the commander, go home. It's okay. So there was some effort being made to take people away from that hotel. This was the last ditch effort by this one with the camera to say, look, I've shown y'all she's not here. So that's it. You rightly said that there's a community who was looking for her, and apparently another community wanted us to not find her or that time. So what do we do now? It's 10:30 at night. We have video footage. We have somebody who walked there, said he has exclusive permission to go in there. He said the cameras weren't working. He was told that Adrianna is not in the pool. He blew their bid to conceal whatever it was, in my view. But as a detective, at 10:30 at night, we have a video footage of someone showing us that the pool is clear. We also have photographs where we show the pool. Obviously, you can see at night, you can see straight down to the bottom of the pool. So what do we do here now?
Okay, there's so many questions, but where I would start with that is who authorized to treat this as a non-suspicious occurrence? Like, why is this being played down? Why is it relaxed, go home? Who's authorizing that movement? And there's so many questions, and then I would have to ask that cameraman who was taking the phone and giving a persuasive message that, see, nobody's here, see, and pointing and all of that. They would definitely go on
Mm-hmm.
my list of suspects to get more questioning, and who authorized that to happen. Why was there nobody else with him, with the family,
Ah,
from the family that accompanied him to verify and to stay and watch that this is what was going on? Because I'm pretty sure, I know the crowd was doing their thing, and I know people were amped up, but I'm pretty sure you could have got a family member or two or three or somebody that was calm enough to say, listen, I'm going to pipe down. I can go walk with this cameraman. Let's make sure that that's not the case. So it should not have been one party going to that pool to say what's what. Because
yeah.
that's just
You
a
got,
suspicion in all itself. Like, why is there only one person not related to anything being able and granted permission to do that?
yeah, because what he said was very critical to the situation where he said he knew somebody or he knows somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody, and they called and say, well, let him go in. He is not a relative. He's not an investigator. He's not anything to do with law enforcement, but he knows somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody, say, let him go. And
But
he went there and tried to sell a narrative to us.
that chain of events of people, somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody, all of those, every somebody needs to be added to the list too. I need to talk.
Wow.
We would. I said I. Somebody needs to talk to all of those parties.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so I am not one who functions by hearsay. I don't do that pretty well. And I know as an investigator would not necessarily do well for your case. But I do trust the reports from family members, immediate family members, like a mother and her aunt, they were on the scene all of the time until the following morning. They didn't go home or anything. Nobody left after that. Who were pretty close to the family. The report we got was that they were searching at one point, child protection or someone else came and they were searching the hotel with the owner now or someone taking them to different rooms. And I think an aunt said that at one point they got to a room where they stored chlorine because they have to treat the pool. And the gentleman, someone told them, don't go in there. It's going to burn your nostrils. You shouldn't go into that room. And they weren't allowed to search that room because there was someone against him to persuade you shouldn't go in there. That's bad. Don't go to that room. Your nostrils can be burned. How do we treat with that kind of information?
Well, first I want to address what you said about hearsay, and hearsay is often thrown around. But when, like I said, when you're an investigator and you're investigating, you want to look into everything that's available and present. Now, that's also another reason why every name and every person and every incident should be
Hmm.
documented, not just names, but dates and times and names and location if you can, right? Now,
Okay.
it seems like to me this is a big red flag right here. Do not go into this room where cleaning supplies is, where there is chlorine or high levels of chemicals are. It's obviously a big red flag. That would be one of the first places that I would want to look, even throughout the night of searching for this baby.
Oh, okay. Right. Because if someone tells me not to go somewhere, I'm searching for my daughter, I guess that's the first place I should go, huh? Right. And so the night they were still trying throughout the night to get to Adriana. They couldn't find Adriana. With every passing hour, it became worse because with every passing moment, tell us as a detective, from 1:30 the afternoon, 10:30 at night, 11 at night, with every passing hour, what is the likelihood of us finding Adriana whole and healthy?
It's like losing your grip. It's almost like holding on to a rope in thousands of feet up in the air. You got a little bit of time before you just lose your grip. And it appears to me the longer in the night, and we don't know, I'm not sure about exactly what time things occurred, but the longer in the night, the longer from the time she went missing up until throughout the night, that's a long time. And it's giving people a chance to try to cover up things, to try to figure out what they're going to do next. All the diversion, the pointing to go in this direction, the stalling, it's just not looking good the further the time goes away.
Okay. And we have some timestamps, and that's why I started mentioning them. We know that the photograph was taken when she was in the pool. This one here is at 1:30 in the afternoon, 1:33. There's a red circle in the background of a gentleman with a towel on his shoulder. I don't know if you noticed that. That was encircled. When she went missing, he also went missing. He disappeared. When they showed another image of her, Adriana not being in the pool, we also noticed that this individual was not there either. As a detective, do you say, hey, if you're looking at images of this nature, we brought it to Guyana and say, investigate this first, or just look at these images and tell us what are some of the questions we should ask ourselves. Someone with a towel there, Adriana goes missing. We cannot locate this person. Should we ask? Well, you said everybody should be questioned anyway, but he's an adult on the other side. And now here's the catch, the part of interest to me. To go to the female washroom, she had to walk past him. The guy in the video said, you see, there's a washroom here, and he started pointing some stuff. So for her to leave, it's not a long distance. She'd get out of the pool from where she is, and she'd walk up the stairs and go straight past him to go into the female washroom. And they said that there is a door of some sort of something beyond that washroom, a gate or something. That's what the relative said. Do we now say something is definitely amiss here?
Absolutely. Things are definitely amiss, very fishy. So, yes, you would want to know who that person is. Does anybody have any identification on who that gentleman was?
The problem we have is that we aren't receiving information in reference to feedback from the law enforcement people. Up until this day, the highest ranking police official, the highest ranked official in this country in the police force, has never once sat before the press to give one statement or answer one question. And this is almost the second month, on the 23rd of April, 23rd of May, we almost into the third month, second month. He has not said a single word in person to anyone, live or any otherwise. Nothing, nothing. So uh, the most painful part is coming to me for me when we get to that stage to tell you what has come out of all of this. Now, as the night progressed, people began to report about, as you're saying, activities, different things. They're seeing a truck pull here, something. a minivan somewhere, as if there's some effort to do something. But the father and others were not moving. The police also were there. They weren't moving. On the scene, protecting, shielding, barring people from coming in. Um, so we're into the other morning now, the 24th, the following day. I want to show you, um, or let you understand what happened the next morning. We have ministers, we may call senators and so on, the lawmakers here. One of them showed up and she said to them, you know, we want to know about the girl. They want to find the child. They're trying their best and tried, of course, to soothe and stuff. And the mother said, well, we're not moving from here. We're not going anywhere. They kept insisting, and the mother and others said, we are not moving. Our daughter's in there. We're not moving from here. Then, Carlotta, this said minister who is in the government said, okay, we are going to bring sniffer dogs. Or somebody said that. The word got out from the minister to the president. All right, then. We send sniffer dogs to the hotel. I don't know how much you know about canine or that, but would you send sniffer dogs to sniff a pool? I know dogs in water don't, they lose the scent in water. Centuries are lost in water. So if they say, well, we're going to send for sniffer dogs, is it possible then that someone in authority may have said, well, they're convinced the girl's not in the pool?
So your question was, if they were sending sniffer dogs, they were
Uh,
standing on the fact she's not in the pool. But the
right,
dogs would have been able to locate her on the premises or gave some type of direction, pool or not.
right. So once they heard about sniffer dogs, I'll show you what happened next. Once they heard about sniffer dogs, now there's some profanity here because I can understand why people become living and begin to use certain words based on what I'll show you here. Look at this.
Them put this girl in this pool, boy. The fucking girl that went in there, we went in there just now, boy. What the fuck, boy? That's why they didn't want nobody come in the place. Them didn't want nobody come in the place. What? What?
Should I play the video again? Because I wonder if
Play
you
it one
notice.
more time. Play it
Okay,
one
let
more
me
time.
do that.
Them put this girl in this pool, boy. The fucking girl that went in there, we went in there just now, boy. What the fuck, boy? That's why they didn't want nobody come in the place. Them didn't want nobody come in the place. What? What?
Now, so someone is now. Did you notice a white sheet in the pool?
That's what I was about to ask you. What is that in the pool? You said it's a
A
white
white
sheet.
sheet, a white sheet or white sheet. So now that's the date. That's the next day, the 24th, at about 10 o'clock or so. The next day. So the pool, we can now see in the day how clear it is. So as a detective, if you can see a white sheet in the pool, and this child is 5 feet 5 inches tall, she's taller than the teacher she was standing before. More so, I'm asking about her body position, where she is seen. Let me show you the image of the child. This is how they say that she surfaced in the water. Knee slightly bent, 5 feet 5. Would we miss her if she would drown in that standing position in the day at 1:30 in the afternoon when she went missing?
You definitely should not miss her. I am highly concerned about this sheet that's in the pool. And do we know where that sheet is now?
No, we don't.
And that is alarming because that is evidence. And there's no way that that should not be in evidence, secured in a piece of evidence right now. Because she left the pool, once again, in her clothing attire. She went missing. There was people by the pool searching, staying there all night. She reappears in a pool with a sheet that's floating in the pool, and her body is floating in the pool. It's a lot of circumstantial evidence being brought up in this case. And the fact that this sheet is nowhere to be found is a problem. Now I'm
This is
hoping
painful.
it is very painful, and immediately just looking into that pool with what's happening right there, what you just showed, law enforcement should act immediately and start barricading locations to protect the integrity of the scene immediately without blinking.
Because they were on the scene. Many of them now. They many of them on the scene at that moment. And none of them barricaded the scene. None of them. Not one of them took a second to do it. I would like you to tell us, please, Carlotta, if we can see so clearly in this pool in daylight, and she went missing in daylight, how do we rationalize being told, and we go forward and come back here, that she was always in the 8 feet section when we saw that she went swimming, she was in the 4 feet section when she got to the pool? How are we to suggest that or think that someone in the administration, the police are telling us that this child, as you were saying, went back to the 8 feet section, stood up and drowned because there's no current in the pool, so posture cannot change. You don't drown laying down and then rise stand. Because here we have, forgive me for the gruesome image, but a few days after that, this guy drowned in the pool in my community. That water is 8.5 feet deep, almost 9 feet deep. 10 hours he was down there for. Didn't move, laying on his back. They're saying to us that Adrianna was in the pool in that posture for 20 hours. And everyone missed her standing in the pool drowned. What do you say to that as an investigator?
Okay, so just one, it doesn't make common sense. But one thing that I would have liked to have seen happen immediately with securing the scene, that's one. Just to be sure that there was no foul play in the pool area, I believe it should have been researched again to make sure that there was nothing weighing down, or maybe like she's wrapped, as she appeared to be white from where I'm looking, to make sure
Hmm.
she wasn't wrapped in the white sheet and bound to the bottom of the pool. I'm just saying. And make
Hmm.
sure that there was nothing down there that could have been holding her or keeping her, stuck. Just to clear that out the way, like I said, I would go and search everything and leave no room for any type of error. So I believe that it should have been searched before and after, just to
Oh,
look
I
for
got
any
what you're
type of
saying.
foreign objects, just to be sure to rule that out. But it's
Oh, so,
obvious that
mhm,
she did not decide to reappear to go for another swim with a sheet.
mhm. And if we're to look at um the fact that the young man in the last video I showed you said, we just searched the pool, which is an important point that I would like you to speak to. Here, there's someone who's saying, we, more than one of us, just searched the pool and she was not there. The camera is there to show that it's a clear day. Maybe I should just run the video again to show how clear it is. So we can see in the pool, we can see that if you were there, you can stand on the deck and see that somebody's in the pool. And He said these words.
Them police girl in the school, boy. The fucking girl that went in there, we went in there just now, boy.
So he said, we went in here just now. You in the US, you understand the Mississippi, well, no, you understand the language. We were just in here as an investigator. Those words, what do they mean to you? Someone is saying we were just in here and she wasn't in here. What does that say to you?
That says to me that she obviously had to be placed in there somehow. And how would be my question, because I see there's a lot of people. So I would want to know, where were those people while whoever was walking in the pool? Like,
Great question.
how did
So
that come about?
let me
What was the
bring that to
time
you.
frame? Yes.
Perfect. You remember I told you that the minister, this person showed up on top of that they'll send the sniffer dogs. They were all outside because the police were not allowing anybody in anymore. The morning they were outside. A group of officers came with, we call them riot officers. They came with shields and batons and stuff, or shields, riot gear. And they told the father, and I think the grandmother, listen, the guy said, listen, talk to the people, go there and convince people to, to relax because they're becoming upset and so on. And so a group of policemen were sent to the site, to the road area outside of where the hotel is. And the crowd began to turn their attention on them. So the crowd began to turn the attention to them. They began backing up, backing away. So people were backing the pool now. They're not facing the pool anymore. They're going away from the area, while police were still in that area along with some other people. So when you ask the question as to how could they possibly have lowered this child, if that's what the case, in the pool, the people that you see on the deck ran in after they heard screaming to say, listen, somebody just realized something, that this turned around and saw her in there. Because remember, if she's lowered in the pool, she sank first. But when they turn around and somebody raised an alarm, then they saw her. So there would have been another case now where another set of law enforcement officers, police came with their shields, lined the road, cross road, confronting the people, and then the father would have been sent to talk to them, see between and engaging the crowd and the police, and they're facing each other, not facing the pool. A truck, we saw there's a big truck with a box truck, like U-Haul, pulled up on the scene, shield blocking the view to the stairwell. Okay. So there are a lot of pieces here in reference to why are we obscuring the view to this section where she was found? Because she went missing from the 4 feet section of the pool. After she got out of there and she walked, nobody saw her come back to the pool. And then she wound up in an 8 feet section of the pool. 20 hours later.
So nobody should get to be this blunt with their actions with covering up. It's like concrete cover up. All of the things that you're mentioning, and it's unfortunate that the police, the people that are in the community that people should trust, are the ones stopping the flow of the truth, are the ones blocking the truth and causing diversions and sending out and putting out misinformation. Like I said in the beginning, it had to take a community of people on the wrong side of the tracks to even try to pull this off. But what I'm glad about is that people are not gullible, and the truth is clear. We just need more answers, and we need to continue to go
Okay.
in the direction to get people to open up some kind of way and get the truth out.
Yeah.
It's
So as an investigator, sorry, but as an investigator, now she's in the pool, the child is seen in the pool. You said something earlier that they should have essentially cordoned off or just prevented anyone from going around there because this is now a potential crime scene. There's a child who is obviously not alive in this water. Um, who should retrieve her from the water? If she's floating there now, she's there. There's an artifact, a towel of some sort in the pool. They should surround the pool, and what should be the next procedure with maybe medical examiners? What should happen next, in your view, to
Yes, definitely.
preserve any evidence?
Right. You want to first. You want to get parameters set up. You want to look for and close off things. Like I said, protect the integrity of the scene. You want the coroners involved. You want crime scene involved. You want to start collecting evidence. You want to start getting a log of everyone there, getting identification, who was there, everybody who works at that location, at their premises. You want to find out who was on staff. You need to get all the information at this point, because we want to make sure, before we say what happened, we want to be sure that we have everything we need, that we can look over, that you can look over what's happening. So start
Okay.
preserving everything that you can possible at this moment.
Instead of doing what I'll show you now, which is this. If you look up the stairs, go up the stairs to the people looking at her in the pool, or by the pool. Up there at the door, there's a law enforcement officer at that door. And Carlotta, in a few moments after that, from that room, smoke began to emanate. Black smoke began to billow out of that room, and then the hotel was in flames. This officer never ran down the stairs, never said, fire, fire, nothing. Stood right there while smoke was coming out of the room, while the girls in the pool, and then the building was engulfed in flames. What do you say to that? Why was that room set on fire? Because this is not hearsay anymore. The fire service in our country did rule that it was arson. It was set on fire, deliberately set on fire. They give that report. Why would someone have that room set on fire and an officer stand there without trying to put out the fire?
Okay. So going back to the officer who is standing by while there's a fire, what happens to the protocol of police when there is a fire? I remember going to a house alarm and there was a fire happening. You wanted to calm me down because I'm on the radio. I'm sending out dispatch, get the fire department, letting people know there's a fire happening. There's smoke coming from a house. So there is going to be, like, the truth needs no help. So when things start to look like opposite of what's normal, that's alarming. So he would definitely be someone that I would call in as a person of interest in this case. Definitely need to ask more questions. Definitely need to account for why was he just there, standing there, you of all people, the police, near a fire. And
Hmm.
you said that the fire department ruled it as arson. But there
Mhm.
should come more information with that. You just don't say it was ruled as arson and that's that. Ruled as arson, and what accelerants were used? How was the fire
Uh-huh.
started? What was used to start the fire? Things of that nature. There's a little
Hmm.
bit more information that needs to be unpacked when it comes to just arson.
Yes.
And I'm not an arson
Yeah.
investigator, but
Understood.
I do know that much. Yeah.
Right, right, right. Yes, yes. And so this is what we saw. This is what we saw here in reference to Adriana. When her father, by the way, her father had to dive into the pool. Her father. He dove into the pool and pushed his daughter out. And forgive the imagery. This is what Adriana looked like. I want to show you what she would have looked like when she took her graduation picture. Her right hand, this is her right arm. Take a look at her right arm. She's out of the pool. That's her right arm, her face. So we began to wonder, what is it? What could have caused this degree of discoloration? Close look at her face. There's something in her nostril. Speak to us. That's what we saw on that day.
Okay. My heart goes out to this baby once again, but there's so many different things. She had something in her nose That should be collected as evidence. And I will ask you, but you can answer me later. Do we know where that is today, right now? Um, I noticed that the discoloration on her arms, her face. We have to get to the bottom of what caused that. How did that occur? And people who investigate that type of when it comes to deceased, that information, we want to get more information from medical that
Okay.
have integrity. But
So
really,
that'd be
what's alarming,
forensic pathologist.
for instance, yes. But really, what's alarming to me in that photo is the fact that she was submerged in water. She has all of these markings, but there's a wristband that appears to be. I'm not sure about this wristband that appears to be intact.
Yeah. VIP.
So
That's what it says.
VIP. So that wristband really speaks to me because I would want to question who administered the wristbands. I would want to question what other children were wearing wristbands, and if so, were they wearing the same color? Did they all say VIP, or was there a difference? So I would definitely
Okay.
want to look into the wristbands and who was responsible
Okay.
for administering them.
Right. Understood. Understood. So when we got there were forensic pathologists who came here, and this may take into another phase of investigation because you investigate crimes against children here. Um, Forensic pathologists were brought in and they said, well, they're going to examine the body. And before I show you some images to speak to, because you had a medical doctor here who spoke to the fact that rigor mortis did not step in, which means she could not have died for more than 6 hours. When the father pulled her out of the pool, her neck could have moved, her hip were still flexible because her legs closed. And I showed you the guy who drowned in my town, in our community, and he was underwater for 10 hours because I was in the scene. I did some video footage of it. This fella here, he was like a rock after 10 hours of being underwater. Adrianna, they said, was drowned for 20 hours, according to what these pathologists said. But yet her neck was flexible, her hip was flexible, her knees bent over the side of the pool. Does that fall into your line of investigation, or you examine these things and say, well, you're not a medical examiner, but as an investigator, in your
Right.
mind, you're up knowing when did this girl actually die? Do you have the liberty of asking doctors the kind of questions?
Absolutely. That would be definitely a question that we would want to ask. When did the time of death occur? That's like the number one thing you want to know, because the timeline is very important in this case, especially this case. Because when you have evidence coming up missing, when you have things being in place, you can still get the truth out of this case, but a strict timeline is going to be very, very key. And
Okay.
it's just the first thing that comes to my mind, that someone is making very strong efforts to block the truth and
Okay.
miseducate the public when it comes to
Mm.
this case. So you just showed a description of someone in the water after drowning for 6 hours. And it's alleged that Adriana was in the water almost double that.
20 hours.
And then her arms, the way that her arms are, and just, it appears to me that it could have been a struggle. It just appeared. That's just my first glance, but I'm not
Okay.
sure because I didn't get to see really good close up shots. But it just doesn't. It's not adding up. It's not adding up.
I can understand. And I don't want to take you down the forensic pathologist path because many people speak to doctors and pathologists, but we want to speak to you as a law enforcement person, as one who have done investigations. And that's why I am so grateful that you're here, because we wanted to hear from an investigator. What would be the questions? What would be the angles you take? What are the red flags? What would be the kinds of lines of, areas of
Right.
search or focus you would take? And so when we looked at Adriana, I want to show you something, bring you back to an image. I'll take us off the camera. So you can see this image pretty closely.
Hmm.
So you can look closely. Now, on this day, Carlotta, remember that for all the overnight, nobody was allowed to go into the hotel. Nobody was allowed to go by the pool. The police were blocking the door and the people were on the road. There's actually a fence that they couldn't get across unless you break it down. So all that happened. Look at the ladder of the pool. I noticed that there's water, like footprints. Nobody was there, and there's water on the deck. It was a dry day at 10 o'clock in the morning. Nobody was swimming because the pool, there was an issue that people began to burn tires on the road and so on. So nobody was swimming there. How do we have water by the deck, right by the ladder where she was found? Because if the jets of the pool were put on, she was pushed out a bit away from the ladder. How do you, as an investigator, pay attention to that? And or would you pay attention to the fact that you have two um, pools of water here where nobody was swimming, but they're two footprints?
Absolutely. Like where I'm from, a crime scene investigator would have taken pictures of that because you can potentially measure the size of the footprint and to be able to get a size because that can be linked to whoever that person was. And so who is putting out this information that nobody was there, right? But we can clearly see that somebody was. So there's a lot of truths trying to be covered up. And let me go back to just looking as a former homicide detective. Whenever I came up on a deceased body, I might not be a forensic specialist and doing that part, medical examiner,
Mm.
no. But yes, we did have our pad and our pens, and we would document everything that we saw on them.
Ah,
Absolutely.
makes
So we
sense.
don't just
Makes
show up
sense.
to a scene and see a deceased body and just say we're gonna just leave it in the hand. No, we write down what we see, and then we write down what the professionals in that area also share with us.
Also, then you can essentially compare notes and say, well, we saw
Absolutely.
this professionals. That makes sense because
Absolutely.
there are three doctors who came here as forensic pathologists, not gynaes, these three people. Um, Rodner on the left from Mount Sinai in New York. That's what they said. I cannot find him on that website at Hospital Today. Chief medical examiner of Delaware, Gary Collins, and, this Bajan pathologist, Dr. Paul. The government brought in these three men, Carlotta, and in about 2 or 3 days after, 3 years or so after Adrianna was found, they perform an autopsy. And the president of this country, now that's the first time I've heard about this. The president decided these three fellas here, these three guys, never once spoke to the press, never once answered a question of anybody. They just came in, and left, disappeared, gone. The president came, and I want to play the video for you because you need to hear this. What he had to say. He decided he's going to read some report and speak to the nation about the situation. Hear these words, please.
Today, as I said, was an important day in evaluating the circumstances and the death of Ariana. And I just want to briefly share with you what was shared with the police representative and shared with me. The forensic pathologists, as you know, as Frank said, were brief, and they started the work sometime around 1:20 p.m. That's when completing the procedure, the forensic pathologists rule out signs of physical and sexual trauma on Ms. Young's body. After careful deliberation, the team concluded that Ms. Young died as a result of drowning. Ms. Young's relatives were briefed following the examination and informed of the medical cause of death. Due to the state of the decomposition of Ms. Young's body, the pathologists were unable to provide an exact time of death. The relatives were also informed that the pathologists ruled out theories of forcible drowning or any other means of killing, followed by disposal of the body in water. So So that was what.
That's what we have to deal with. See, so these three people here told them all that you just heard, Carlotta.
Hmm.
Speak to us, please.
Okay, so that sounded very suspicious because how on earth can you make a statement saying that any measure of killing has been ruled out?
Thank you.
Like I said, the truth needs no help, and even when people are trying their best to not share the truth, it's going to seep out some kind of way. So that would be something that I would consider very instrumental with this case. Is why would this be allowed? Who authorized this? Why were these statements made? It, it's really giving contamination.
Ah, because I didn't know that forensic pathologists can rule out, they weren't present, and they can rule out that somebody didn't take her from the 4 foot section, put her in the 8 feet section. And as you said, and the people said, she left the pool. They know that. She got out of the water. They searched the pool on multiple occasions. The grandmother said that even the guy who was teaching people to swim, now he teaches them to swim, he's a swimming instructor. He went in the pool along with them to search. This is not a 200-meter pool. It's a small pool. You saw the size of it. How hard is it to find somebody in such a little pool? We find children in rivers in Ghana when they go missing, but not that pool. So the three of them. Now, as a criminal investigator, would you be inclined, if you hear this and you say, "Oh, so you say these doctors said that," would you ever be inclined to say, "Well, we need to question these doctors about what happened"?
Absolutely, I would have been inclined to move forward in that way expeditiously
Uh
because
oh.
something is not right there. And I do have a question about the search. When I was in the military and we used to do searches, even former law enforcement as a detective, we've had to search woods and search things like that for when situations happen with a deceased body. I would be curious to know how the search was conducted. Was there a line formed in the pool and people kept that line and walked?
Exactly. They combed the pool.
They
Exactly.
combed the pool.
They
That's a
combed the
world of
pool.
difference. So please, whenever somebody mentions that the pool was searched, how it was searched is very detrimental. So if they combed the pool and they made a line and they went through the pool, that should rule out any possibility of her being in the pool when it was searched.
And they were diving because I did a simulation in a pool, the same pool the guy drowned in, with my truck key, a little truck key. I said to the people, "I'll show you something. This is a whole human being that died there." I took my little truck key and threw it into the 8 feet section of the pool, and they could see it on camera.
Wow.
I dove overboard, went to the bottom to get my key and brought it back up. So I said, no, if a child is in a pool that I could see the bottom, I don't have to go in the first place because pools are supposed to be built for safety. That's why you go take your children to swim in this. You can see easily the bottom of it. A lifeguard can sit on his chair and see the entire pool. So to go to the extent whereby they even went to search as a team. That's why the young man said, we went into the pool and she wasn't there. He didn't say I. And that's the next day. So they did it the day before. And then the following morning, they did it again
Mm.
because they were so desperate since the owner said, look at the pool. So we go back to him. He directed them to the pool and they kept checking just in the hope maybe we missed the point. Maybe we missed something. So if it was searched on multiple occasions, should we rule out that she was there? Because we could see it. We could see the bottom of the pool.
And
So here's the, sorry, go ahead. And then I'll give
when
you
it
the
comes
kicker
to
when you're
that
done.
search, everybody who was involved in the search, if you were there in the search, it needs to be documented who actually searched on the right side of
Yes,
the tracks, who
I
actually
agree.
searched the pool. So remember who was to your left or to your right. Those names need to come up, and those witnesses need to be given to the proper authorities who are investigating that because that's information that is very. It's like they searched the pool was searched, but who searched it? Who can give account of searching that pool? That's very
Yeah.
important.
Yeah. That young man, he truly did because the record is saying we searched it. And so here's the kicker. I have one for you here. This is a doctor who was there with them, um, before they did the autopsy. Pay attention, please. To me, I know you would, to the things he's saying. So what I'm about to play for you is what this other doctor, he was talking to the three of them. And he apparently was claiming to be representing the family or met with the family of some sort. So before they went in to do the autopsy, listen to what he said. Before they went in there, this is his report.
To Paul, myself, attorney at law Darren Wade, so Brian, Amicia, Amika, the grandmother, the whole family. We had a meeting with the three forensic pathologists that the government provided for the family. Now, the moment I walked into that meeting, like I continue to share my views that before even going to the meeting, I knew, like many others, that this young lady was drowned, right? Somebody drowned her, or cause of death was drowning. We knew this. The moment the pathologists, they were talking, I interrupted them. Again, the family members can attest to this. Mr. Wade can attest to this also. I said, listen, I need you guys to do two things for me. The first thing you're going to help us with, this is what I want you guys to do, to determine time of death. Now, because of the time, rigor mortis and all these things, they're actually got no value after so many days. I asked them if they can tell us time of death, not time of death in terms of the hour. If they can tell me if she died the afternoon, the night, or the following morning. I made that quite clear. The doctors informed me that based on the time, it's a bit important. I asked them, I said to them, no, when we go in and we find water in her lungs, those are my exact words. When we go in and we find water in her lungs, I want you guys to be able to tell me or tell us if this water came from a tap pipe or this water came from the pool. Will you guys be able to determine this for us? They responded also in a negative.
Carlotta, he said that before they went in to do anything to the girl, they all agreed that she drowned. Can you help me with that, please? Can you help us all in Guyana with
I
that,
don't
please?
I don't understand how you know this. How do you know the cause of death going into an autopsy that's going to reveal the cause of death? How do you know this going into it when you were trying to see what the outcome really was? So that's like a stance before you go into it. And
And the
that is,
three of them, so four of them agreed, sorry, but four of them, this guy and the other three I showed you, he said, we agreed. So how do forensic pathologists agree before you go to touch a body? You agree, okay, the person drowned, that's it. How do you do that?
well, once again, when it comes to the truth's got to come out some kind of way. And there, it's like admitting that we decided that this is what it's going to be before we even got to it.
So that's what he actually said then. We agreed. Before we went in there, we agreed. We knew she drowned. We agreed. And when we go in and we find water in her lungs, now how do you know what will be in her lungs? So we
Right.
go back to let's go back to the owner of the hotel, search the pool. You helped him with that when you said, the fact he said, search the pool, he's directing you there. Right? I'm learning here now. He directed, yeah, go search the pool. The next morning, that's where she's found. The guy with the camera the night, the video one, he said, listen, nobody's here. So you can essentially leave because she's not here. That's what I'm saying. Maybe that they didn't want anybody to be around, and then the next morning she'd be found in the pool. Could that be an angle they were going to take?
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
And then now we have a doctor saying, we all agreed. Now that's the best for me. We all agreed. We all agreed that she drowned before we even touch her. That's the agreement.
So that is going hand in hand and it's tying in because it appears the way it's looking that the end result was going to be she's going to appear in the pool drowned. That seemed like from the moment it came out of that person's mouth when they were questioned the night that she went missing, it was already determined that that's how she was going to be located. And now, leading up with the autopsy reports and going into the autopsy, everybody knew that she drowned.
Mm-hmm.
That's highly suspicious. And all of these things should be investigated. It's got to be come
So,
back.
right. So we now get an investigation where we said as Guyanese, we do not trust the police because remember we have days of experience with them. They were the first ones who were there and they were preventing people from searching. And then the fire, he was standing right by the room where the fire was coming from and all that. So we don't trust these guys. We said we would like to have the FBI because we know that your Federal Bureau is really solid in reference to investigating matters. We said we want the FBI to be here. This is your ambassador in Guyana. She said no request from the government, Guyana government, for FBI in Adrianna's case. No request. We kept demanding it. Let me give you the last video. So we kept demanding, this is what we want. The family said this is what they want. They would like to have the FBI, Scotland Yard, or Royal Canadian Mounted Police come here to tell us exactly what happened.
I want to say to the residents that we're going to ensure.
Oh, not this one. I think it's that one. This one where let me see if I find it for you. This one here.
The President, with regards to the Adrianna Younge case,
No,
we know that the
I'm not
Will the FBI be asked to assist?
I'm not going to belabor this point anymore. Everything that I've committed to in the case, we brought in the independent pathologists. They have done their work. There's an independent investigator in. I've done what I said I would have done. The political handlers are now at work aggressively. Let the political handlers deal with what they want.
So the FBI would be asked, in addition to Mr. McCutcheon.
He's done all he had to do. See the attitude? You can speak to that.
Well,
But then your ambassador here said that there was no request made. And she said, all he has to do is write the U.S. government and that's it. The investigators will be here. Go ahead. You can speak.
okay. Well, I would like to know who should request the FBI to get involved and what other channels, the appropriate channels where nobody can say that it hasn't been done. What are those channels? So that would be the first thing.
Government to government. Sorry, government to government. And he's the person who has to do it.
Right. Now the question is, when it comes to the government, because people can hide behind government, who in said government? You get what I'm saying? So we need to put some names behind the force. So
more than likely it'd be the Attorney General, either Attorney General or Minister of Home Affairs, because the AG would be, okay, it's a criminal matter we're investigating and we would like you to, or it could be the president who can say, well, reach out to the ambassador of the government, please, we would like to have the investigators here. None of that happened because you saw the president of Guyana say that that's it. He's done with that. He's not bringing any FBI because he did what he had to do. But he said something that I would like you to zoom in on, where he said that the private investigator, singular, is here. May I present to you, Carlotta, that the private investigator is a retired investigator from the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. So he has he doesn't have to give account to the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. He is a private contractor. So the best that the president did for us, and these people did for Guyana, was to bring a private contractor. Private. So he's a businessman working for himself here to investigate this matter. And I would like to present to you what he said. This private investigator who came here said that there is no foul play. First of all, nothing. The girl drowned. And he said to us that the said pool that you saw, I would like to show you just for emphasis. This pool here, that at night you can see the bottom, that private investigator that the government brought said that you had to have professional divers to find her. And that's why she wasn't seen for 20 hours, because there was no professional diver in a pool that's 8 feet deep? Please speak to that for us.
If
He's
the
an
pool,
investigator like you.
I don't know about like me,
Not
but
like you, sorry.
it's okay.
I got
It's
you.
okay.
He's an
But
investigator.
but like like I said, that's why it's so important for the people who actually searched and combed the pool, who can attest to searching every inch of that pool and she was not there. Um, you do not have to. It's nice. It would be nice if professional divers could have just showed up on the night of and searched, but it'll do just as well if the pool was searched and combed through. And then you said the community searched it multiple times. So with the private investigator, um, having no connection to the local department, to the community coming, it appears to be from another country. Like, who called the shots on that? How was he selected? What was the selection process? Those are things that need to be unpacked as well. And going back to the person who was saying that he was done with that, he did make a statement in his statement that I heard loud and clear. And over everything that he said when he was saying he's done and everything's been done, he said he's letting politicals, the political handlers, handle it.
Yes.
And that, to me, that sticks out like a sore thumb. So it's letting me know that this is a political situation.
Wow. He was addressing people like me and others from other groups he called political people. So yeah, y'all want to deal with this? Go ahead. I'm done with that. So he washed his hand as the president of our country. He washed his hand of the situation. I think my earphones died. Let me just wait for you. You hear me? Is better?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Great. Yeah, my phone's died on me. Right. So he washed his hands of it. He was done with that. We are still saying they were said, listen, we need the FBI to investigate this. We need professionals like you who can say, okay, I can look into this and see some red flags being raised here.
Yeah.
But I must say that I'm grateful that we've come thus far in our conversation. I'm sure that the attorney for the family would be on the broadcast as well, watching, trying his best, because it took her to the USA and her body. They did a second autopsy, of course, after the first one. And so we had an opportunity to interact with a forensic pathologist in the US while the body's in the US. And I'm going to play that last video for you before we go. So this is where you spoke to how you guys would work. So this is what she had to say.
That just because I don't see any physical manifestation of trauma doesn't mean that someone cannot or was not murdered. There are ways in which you can kill someone and not leave any demonstrable trauma on the body. Basically, you just have to interfere with their ability to breathe. And in some cases, it may involve somehow constricting their chest or maybe putting pressure on their neck. And you don't always wind up breaking structures in the neck or bruising structures in the neck. So sometimes you can have asphyxial type deaths or deaths where adequate blood flow and oxygen doesn't get to the brain and not leave any trauma to the body.
Thank you, Doc. In conclusion, you would say that Adrianna Younge's death is highly suspicious.
Yes, I would.
Thank you very much for your time.
So she was in Atlanta, and that's Dr. Terry. They did a second autopsy, and she said she would request a thorough criminal investigation because she ruled, or she said, that drowning is actually a diagnosis of exclusion. So we go through every possibility and then say, well, we've eliminated all else. And the last thing we can say as forensic pathologist is that she drowned. Interesting to notice that she spoke to what she would have heard, which is she went swimming, and that's what you did. This child was swimming at 1:30 in the afternoon. She left the pool. She never came back because people were looking for her. She couldn't be found. If you can't find her, then she didn't go swimming at 10:30 at night because the guy went there at 10:30, she wasn't in the pool. So when did this child end up back in the pool? So this forensic pathologist is saying that she's requesting a thorough criminal investigation because the red flags were raised for her, and she said, this doesn't look like just, oh, somebody stood in the pool and drowned. And that's the part that has me. Can you stand in the pool and drown? Now, you spoke about the stuff in her nostrils. The father and others said there was cotton wool in her nose, but they were on the scene beside the body. And they said that her two nostrils were stuffed with cotton wool. Cotton. We don't have that report from any pathologist. They never said that. But the people at the pool said there was the father, the relatives and others, onlookers and those who were there beside the body said there is cotton wool in her nostrils. Speak to us, please.
I mean, we have the cotton in her nostrils. No report of where it's at. Has it been tested? No collection of evidence. We have the sheet. We don't know where that's at. We have evidence that's being burned. We have trucks coming in play, diversions happening, and pathologists giving false reports. It appears that there's a false report because how can you have another pathologist who gives an integral report that's consistent with what a pathologist will actually say with their findings, right? There's too many gaps that need to be closed. And I would definitely agree with the last pathologist that a full-blown investigation needs to be conducted. And when I say conducted, I mean surveillance of convenience stores, locals. Once they get up into the threads, finances will tell you, like financial reports, telephone logs, like real telephone logs, burner phones, all of that information to be able to tie in who was communicating, what was happening when there was no communication, who was all involved. There's so many other things that can be unpacked, but I would definitely say move forward in this case and investigate it to the full capacity.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And viewers, this is Carlotta, someone who, as I said to you before, does extensive work. She's got a book. Tell us about your book before you leave, please, and about the foundation that you're a part of and you have
Well, thank
started.
you for allowing me to share that, because I did not come on here with the intention to sell my book. But just so you know a little bit about me, we did not discuss that. However, I am the author of No More Flinching: 5 Steps to Overcoming Adversity. I have a story of a survivor story that anyone who needs any type of motivation, encouragement. I've went through a lot of things and I lived through a lot of things, and God blessed me to be able to be here to share from my perspective and to help other people overcome. I have a nonprofit organization. It's titled No More Flinching Foundation, where I reach out to foster youth, children who've been abused, children who don't have what they need in life, and they're looking for answers. And I'm actually reconfiguring some things in my nonprofit. It used to be named Somebody Step In Nonprofit Organization, but I just changed the name maybe like last year to the No More Flinching Foundation. I am a motivational speaker. I speak at conferences on the topic of child abuse and child neglect. With foster care. So I'm a big child welfare advocate. That's what I love to do. And I do so much more, but I'm not going to get into that. But you can check me out at nomoreflinching.com and you'll be able to connect with me there. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And we had to know about your literary work because it speaks volumes to your interest in child protection and child care. And unfortunately, a child of Guyana, a child of the world, would have been taken away from us in what my opinion is very, very, and the opinion of the masses is that it was in the most criminal manner and it needs to be investigated. But the Guyana Police Force, the government of Guyana, have essentially closed that case.
It's
They're
closed.
done with that. Closed, yes, because they said that the pathologist said she drowned naturally. They said this private investigator said she drowned naturally. They claimed they got reports from the sample taken from her body, and the ethanol levels are all fine in reference to just saying it came from natural decomposition. And the investigator said that because we live in a tropical climate, that's why she floated within 20 hours of drowning. because normally it takes 2 to 3 days sometimes. That's our reality in this country.
I will continue to speak about this case, and I'm pretty sure everyone will continue to speak about it. It's not closed until it is closed the right way. Closed with truth, closed with fact, closed with answers, and closed with justice. That's when it'll be closed.
What a way to end this. And I would like to suggest, if there's any media outlet here or news agency in Guyana who is privy to this conversation, you're free to air it. Are they? I should say, for me, I don't have an issue with that. Are they free to share what you've spoken here this evening?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And would you be open to having probably an interview with them if they were to say, can she speak to us? Because we need to have as many voices, and that's the bit here, to have as many voices being lent to our cry for justice.
Absolutely. I mean, the way I grew up in and out of foster care, my voice was silenced. I was told often, shut up, be quiet. And I used to have a speech impediment. But throughout life, God allowed me to live through the trauma that I survived. And that's why I'm an advocate for child welfare. So I don't mind using my voice. I don't mind standing in the gap and making sure that we don't stop saying her name until justice is served. So I have no problem with speaking to anyone for the betterment and moving forward this case. I hope at least one thing I said could help with this case futuristically, and I'm looking forward to justice being served.
Thank you, and we certainly keep you abreast. We'll be in touch. And even if the attorney is watching or the family, they say they would like to speak with you to have, of course, your expertise and your assistance in the U.S., because we have to take this beyond our borders. I realize that, and there has to be some degree of pressure coming from outside. Hakeem Jeffries, congressman, has said, Hakeem is involved. He said there needs to be a thorough investigation. And for that, I'm grateful to know that in the U.S., your politicians are saying, hey, this shouldn't go down like that. We need to find out what happened to this girl. So hopefully we can take this as far as we have to. Probably you there, I wish if you were still in the field to have those two doctors tell you how they could arrive at this conclusion. Track, because they haven't been, they too. Dr. Terry spoke to the journalist, the guy you saw there, he was from Guyana. These three pathologists never spoke to any of our media personnel, none, up until today. Not even one press conference, nothing. And then they said the matter is essentially closed. And I like the way you said it. It's not closed until we know the truth and until justice is served. So, Carlotta, thank you. If you have any closing statement to make, I am so grateful on behalf of the Guyanese population. I do thank you tremendously for your work that you've done in this matter, briefly, but yet so effectively.
Well, I would just like to say thank you once again. And I really want to add, and I know I'm going to be talking about her story on my platforms, on all of them. And I'm going to add something special about Adrianna Younge's case within my nonprofit organization, No More Flinching Foundation. Thank you once again.
Thank you. And do have a wonderful rest of the night.
You too.
Thank you so much. To those of you who are viewing and those who took the time to spend these 2 hours with us, thanks again. I say to Carlotta and to every other person in the United States of America, in Canada, wherever you are in the world, if you have interest, and since you've shown such interest in this case, thanks to you. Thanks to Dr. Todd. Thanks to all of you who would have worked and continue to work. I want to encourage Dr. Todd from this platform that I and others would not relent. To the Young family, we shall not quit until we know that the right thing has been done. So we thank you. We appeal to all agencies, all parties, all influencers, as you called. Do not ever allow anything to silence the voice of one crying for justice. Adrianna must not just be gone and forgotten. This child has been through too much to escape with nothing, or to just go by with nothing. So thanks to you all. Please, if you don't mind, share the broadcast, let it go as far and wide as it has to, so that we can highlight what's happening here in Guyana, South America. Do well until we meet again. Thank you so much.